Earlier in the year, I decided to take a series off my review bucket list. This is Zeno, a first-person brawler set in a surrealist daydream full of interesting locales and characters, and it's also a Source Engine title, and it's also the debut game from Ace Team, a Chilean developer. This is a developer we're going to come back to a few times because they make a lot of quirky, interesting, experimental games, and I don't know if you've noticed, but the games I tend to like the most are games which push the boundaries of what a game really is, so we'll be coming back to them later. Xenoclash 1 begins exactly how I thought it wouldn't. My live reaction tells us pretty much everything we need to know about how I felt.
Yeah, let's play some fucking South American jank. Okay. What a strange way to start the game.
This intro perfectly sets the scene for what is a short exploration into this fantastical, surrealist world where not everything is as it seems. Characters spin between comical and serious at a coin flip, the combat is frantic and often breaking around you, and the narrative... oh god, the narrative.
When I saw my little boy look like a pig.
But let's set the scene. We play as Gat, an amateur boxer who for reasons unknown attempts to kill his parents, father and mother. Yes, that was father and mother. Both a father and a mother, and no, I will not elaborate, you've seen the art style. The rest of the game plays out as a series of fights where we slowly glean more information on why Gat attempted to murder father and mother and what's going to happen next. Xenoclash is, as previously mentioned, a Source Engine title. It looks like it, sounds like it, and plays like it. This isn't a bad thing, of course, as Half-Life 2 still looks and plays great, but it does mean that there are some Source Engine-ish stuff that sticks out. Plus, the game is from 2009. So on a purely technical level, it was never going to look amazing more than 10 years in the future, even if it was a AAA title with millions in the budget. So you can expect blurry textures, low resolution shadows, and other age-related deficits. But obviously, that's not what people are going to be looking at. Xenoclash is a surreal first-person beat-em-up. We rarely get any of those, and it has an interesting art style to boot, so yeah, let's talk about that instead. The first thing we see in Xenoclash is that cutscene from before. We get to see these humanoid animals just chilling and enjoying lunch. Gat, our protagonist, is probably the best example of what makes this style so different and why it matters to the story and tone as a whole. In a typical game, your protagonist is very approachable. They either look super average or they're a supermodel. Nathan Drake being a handsome man works because that's the character. It's James Bond mixed with Indiana Jones. Gat though? He's an amateur boxer whose parent is a 10-foot tall bird creature who lives in a society where a loincloth is considered every attire. He is not going to look good. He's going to wear armor to shield himself from punches, and for some reason he's going to have strange hair with patches missing. And everyone else is going to be a similar line of thinking. There's massive humanoid elephants, birds, pigs, and other animals. This is largely in line with Hieronymus Bosch's work, a Danish painter a few hundred years back, which the developers have listed as an influence on a few interviews. He's got some great work. It's very weird, very surreal, and nearly always filled to the brim with random little creatures of varying humanity. They're awesome, I genuinely love them, but how do you bring that sort of energy into a game while still keeping it balanced? Do you go wacky and absurd, or do you try and make it dark and mysterious? Xenoclash balances this pretty much perfectly. Sure, we're beating up the leftover animals from vivisected beasts within and confronting a very fucked up inciting incident, but the game is warm. It focuses on warmer hues and indeed warmer settings, but that doesn't mean that the game doesn't know when to go dark and mysterious. Xenoclash never came off as a game that was trying to say, oh, look at my art style, it's so edgy, like so many others. But instead, it comes off as a genuine world while still being readable. I know where enemies are in the levels, I know where usable objects are, I know where I need to go and what I need to do solely because the level designer and the art team shared a desk, as opposed to whatever was happening in Hunt Down the Freeman. The world feels believable because the game isn't on top of the art design like it is in most games. Everything here is linked in and it all works together despite the vast amount of challenges the team would have had to have solved to get it this way. The biggest problem I thought I would have had is that the art style would be too intense, it would be distracting. But no, it's not like it's overly creeping or unsettling or it's too bright, it's too colourful, it's just dreamlike and it blends perfectly. And it's not like the I murdered my whole family kind of dream, but more like whatever was happening in your Coraline or Cabin of Dr. Caligari. Everything is still real, it's just a little different. Maybe the building's made out of carved stone, the walls adorned with various shelves that just don't sit right. Maybe it's the angle or the material. Maybe it's the strange hive-like stones erupting from the desert floor, or the insanely tall trees, or the beautiful pinks and purples of the setting sun. Whatever it is, it makes this game into an experience unlike any other, which my god doesn't need, as the rest of the game is pretty underwhelming. In a nutshell, Zeno Clash is a first-person melee brawler with some light shooting on the side. Think Mirror's Edge minus the parkour and you've got Zeno Clash. It's a good idea, but it has a lot of problems. We learned some basic combos and moves with the ghost of our dead teacher Metamorph. Holding down left click gives us a left right left jab combo. If we move backwards and then forwards and punch, we do a strong wind up punch that stuns enemies, leaving them open and get sent flying with an uppercut. And that's kind of it. There's really not that much more. We can kick enemies to break their guard or to injure them when they're down. We can also grab enemies, but I could never get that to trigger. So I don't know if that was like the game being kind of buggy kind of thing, or if I just could not remember the button bind. It could be either, as the tutorial was not very good. And there are guns, but they're implemented in a very interesting way, as they aren't overpowered. If anything, they're actually underpowered, and really only make sense during set pieces or if you just want to switch it up a little. Which you might want to do, as enemies are split between 3 distinct archetypes. Your normal brawler enemies, big beefy tanks, and the local wildlife. They can all be punched to death, but the game does try and switch up the combat by giving you different tools for each fight. Every fight with the tankier enemies, you normally get a heavy melee weapon like a club. A nice touch is that as the fight progresses, the club gets damaged more and more. If you're fighting animals, they pretty much always give you a gun just because they're way too fast to punch. While it's a small distinction, it is enough to break up gameplay and separate the various levels of the game. Plus the game is at its maximum maybe 2 hours long, so variety is actually really respectable given the length. And adding to the variety, there are a few boss fights, but I can't show them due to spoilers, so we'll get there. Sadly though, at least these days, Xenoclash is something that people would dismiss, mainly because they've played games which have done Xenoclash's combat better. Messiah of Might and Magic, Mirror's Edge, the Condemned series, which is fair enough. Xenoclash is, it's basic. It is extremely rough around the edges. There's not really a point of difference aside from its visuals and maybe the story, but we'll get to that. You aren't going to play Xenoclash and walk away thinking it's amazing with insane levels of interactivity or shockingly smooth combat, because it's not. It is a lie to say otherwise. Animations are weird, attack distance is way too short, combat is too easy, and it's so weightless. It honestly feels like you're skating around the map as you launch punches at enemies. And I could go on and on and on and on about this game's problems, but that's not what I think about when I think Xenoclash. I actually like this one. Xenoclash is this perfect lightning in a bottle moment where it's absolutely gorgeous art direction meets simple and enjoyable gameplay. But while the combat is the majority of the experience, there is also the story, which, let's just jump into. Spoilers ahead. As previously mentioned, we play as Gat, who just ran away from home after trying to kill his parent. And rather suitably, the majority of the game is actually just flashbacks, told to Daedra by Gat as they slowly ventured across Xenozoic towards an unknown destination. There's a fair bit of wax philosophy thrown in as well. It's mentioned that Gat for a time travelled with the Corvid of the Free, a bunch of extremely simple-minded creatures out in the forest. This is also where we're trained in the way of punching by Metamorph. The Corvid of the Free are born with one goal, and they either die doing it or die happy. This creature, for example, just wants to walk in a straight line and it will topple anything that gets in its way. That is until Gat fights him. Gat is seemingly in respect or perhaps even jealous that these creatures get to live such a simple life, and to an extent, carry out their goals. This is an idea that permeates both the original game and its sequel, although in different ways. More on that later, just keep that in the back of your head. Short story shorter, Gat manages to fight off the various threats in his and Ditch's way, eventually reaching the edge of the world. And it's this strange Nightmare Swamp Forest combo, with a dash of unique gameplay on the side as the strange shadow creatures here need to be put down by this like magical torch, either by beating them with it or launching a flame at them. You can also parry their range attacks back like a game of fucked up tennis. It is a really nice touch. Once we get deep enough into the fortress, we come across a puzzle of sorts. We have to light each brazier and it seemingly wakes up this golem creature who has knowledge of everything and everyone, and he wants us to help restore peace. I'm sure he won't have an ulterior motive. On our boat ride back to town, or at least close to town, the golem spews some philosophy at us while we shoot desert people. The golem also reveals, because I don't know why the golem's saying this, because the golem seems to be the only creature in this fucking game that actually has plot points, reveals that Gat went back to Father Mother in anger as he had learnt a terrible, terrible secret. But neither the golem or Gat say what that is for now, because that would be a spoiler. The next few levels are the player with their two companions backtracking through the previous missions. We get a few notable statements from the golem, like how he believes the Corwood to be the most miserable creatures to ever exist.
Miserable creatures I anywhere beheld.
The exact opposite of what Gat believes. And that apparently they aren't insane, they chose this way of living. They chose their goals. Speaking of which, here they are now. We fight them off, and then get ambushed by our family, who we then also fight off. Daedra at this point is begging to know the truth of what happened with Father Mother, so Gat conjures a flashback. We watch Father Mother feeding some babies, notably not from a breast, but from like a skin-hide canteen of sorts. But then we get spotted and we launch into combat. So what's the next cutscene? It's a showdown with Father Mother. It's a boss fight, first of our closest siblings, and then once again with our closest siblings, and finally with Father Mother themselves. It's an interesting fight. You have to use these guns to shoot at their legs to get them to drop down so you can pummel them. But the fight is a stalemate, with Gat pulling a grenade at the last moment.
All my children.
You're still not telling me Father Mother's secret?
No. Now that she is dead, no one should ever know it.
And if only that was how narratives worked, Gat. A strange woman living off a coastal road provides the next clue. Apparently her boy woke up one day and was a pig.
Some months ago, I was surprised too, when I saw my little boy look like a pig.
I've never heard about that. It's never happened where I live.
Gat seems off when he hears this. Golem tells Daedra to remember her when we're in Halstead. But first, another boss fight. This time against Hunter. We fought him near the start of the game, but it honestly wasn't even worth mentioning, and neither is this, at least for its gameplay. The story implications though, well, I'll put it this way. Hunter is leagues better a fighter than us, and we lose.
I've had enough fun already.
The golem steps in, and now we see why he doesn't fight.
Ah!
Who are you? There is no one I can... Ah!
So that's why he doesn't fight. He hurts everyone around him. Any wound inflicted to him is inflicted to others. It's interesting. It's the first bit of intro that isn't delivered through strange flashbacks, and it might actually get a payoff.
Where are you going?
To Halston.
Once we arrive at Halstead Art City, the golem tells us that we just need to get him into the city anyway.
All conflicts.
A weird way to say it, but alright, why not? We then take on every single sibling we have in hand-to-hand bullet-to-face combat and eventually come in on top. But it's time for another reveal. Father Mother isn't dead. Disfigured and wounded, sure, but not dead, and they've asked for us to follow them. I wonder what's going to happen. Well, not a peaceful resolution as it's round 2. I know we've done the whole art direction part of the video, but my god, is this not beautiful? The overwhelming sunset, the almost grotesque creature we're fighting, the rolling hills in the background. I don't know. It just stands out in the game, and it's the perfect visuals to end this adventure with. Boss fight wise, it goes the same way. Shoot the legs, punch the face. Father Mother just has bombs now, and various siblings come out and join the fight. This does up the difficulty massively, as now you have to juggle multiple enemy types and a Father Mother who just won't let you build distance. The fight is long, and we make use of everything we've learned over the course of the game. It is a really well done finale. Eventually we do win, but Father Mother has other ideas.
This is a problem.
Behind you! No! Ugh.
You could either tell my secret or destroy me. I'm glad you didn't tell my secret.
I'm not going to tell. And I'm not going to kill you either. I do consider you my father and mother. You just have to stop doing what you do with the children.
Cat wouldn't tell you Father Mother has a secret, but I will. Things are going to change here. Father Mother is neither your father nor your mother.
Huh?
He is a male creature, incapable of giving birth to anyone or anything. He took each one of you away from your real fathers and mothers when you were babies. In time, I can prove this to each one of you and show you your real families. There are things bigger than Halston, and things bigger even than Xenozoid. This too I will show you. Until now, you have been linked by a fake bond. But I have come to bring you the truth, and you will be linked in a form that no one can break.
And what an ending. It makes sense though, right? I mean, all of our brothers and sisters are of different species. There's only a few that could be biological, namely Gat and Ramat. Dedra isn't a sibling, but she's definitely human. There's a few pig people around, so they must all be related, and as the golem said, he is going to reunite these people with their families. I mean, overall, the story can be summed up as a distracted mess. We constantly just bounce around between present day and flashback for seemingly no reason. The reveal of Father and Mother could have been done multiple times throughout the game, but was left to the very last moment, always being hand-waved away by Gat refusing to share the secret. To be honest, it still works, and delivering it later in the game does add context to Father and Mother and makes them out to be a tragic villain, someone so consumed by their goal of having children that they see nothing else. And like I said before, that idea of goals is going to be one that is expanded on in the sequel. That was Xenoclash 1. With some questions still remaining and the nature of the golem left up for interpretation, plus, was that a second golem in the credits? I immediately booted up Xenoclash 2 and hit record. Xenoclash 2 opens directly after the first game's conclusion, and let's be honest here, something's missing. and that something was critically important to the first game's appeal. We do once again play as Gat, but this time we're trying to take down the Golem who has made himself a de facto ruler of Halstead, installing a system of law, a prison, and his own personal army. It's up to Gat, Dedra, Father Mother, and whoever else wants to help to take down the Golem and restore peace. On paper, it is an effective follow-up to the last game's conclusion, but not everything is a really good follow-up. I mean, look at that lighting. That shit's flat. It is extremely flat with little to no separation between the foreground and background, important objects, buildings, whatever. Compare this to the first game and it's clear that Xenoclash 2 is caught lacking, especially when we compare one of the more standout locations from both titles. Holstum is a pretty impressive looking place in the original. It's got the right amount of wacky weirdness combined with actual believable architecture. And then we cut forward to Clash 2 and it looks like an asset flip in a Unity horror game being sold for $1. I can't really put to words why it does either. Maybe it's a lack of shadows or for lighting in general instead relying on global illumination from the sun. Maybe it's the scale of certain buildings being off, or maybe it's the lack of believability when it comes to each building's function and form. But I think above all else, it just feels empty. There's no trash piles or mess anywhere, it's too clean and it lacks depth because of that. And this is strange given that Xenoclash 2 runs on Unreal Engine 3 and as such has the ability to look better than the dated source engine. UE3 should support way more assets on screen than the source engine, but for whatever reason this wasn't done. Sure, it could have looked better than Clash 1, but that's provided that the developers leverage the increased level of detail afforded by the Unreal Engine. But sadly, with 4 years in development, Xenoclash 2 looks pretty average. Sure, it does look better than the original in terms of texture quality, shadow resolution and view distance, which has the added benefit of the scale of the worlds being far more realised now, but it's not a massive change in quality. But from an indie studio with next to no funding, it's a pretty good effort I think. Thankfully though, the stylization of the original has survived the transition between engines with some small changes. The impressive amount of different creatures and characters is the same, with most, if not all, returning in some capacity, from the Corwoods to our own brothers and sisters, the Father, Mother, the Golem, etc. The amount of locations we visit is slightly higher than the original, with some of them being one-to-one recreations of locations, which is a good way actually to highlight the difference between the two. When we compare this game's end-of-the-world Golem hideout to the first game's, I think it's starkly clear what I mean. Clash 2's just looks worse. The original has this otherworldly look to it, the land, the water, and seemingly the air is infected with something. In the sequel, it's just some weird looking geometry. Granted, sure, the context is different, the Golem is gone in the sequel, so maybe that changed stuff, whatever, it still looks worse. This extends to the game's more normal locations as well. Take the Corwood Forest for example. The sequel is overall a much darker look in line with the game's tone. The shadows from the trees canopy obscure everything. It's a more realistic approach to lighting, but with stylized textures and geometry, etc., it just feels off. Maybe it's the muted colours, or maybe it's too busy with trees, bushes, and other things, but the original, it's bright, like very bright, with colours that pop out at you. Yeah, let's be honest here, it's empty, frankly. There's not much geometry, and this is probably so you don't get stuck on it during combat, but yeah, it could do with more. But which one do I prefer? It's obviously not the sequel, and it's for a few reasons. When everything is lit in a realistic way, you lose out on the ability for the developers to tell you what's important. For example, we're meant to be meeting these two in the forest to have a chat, but there's no signposting for them. Maybe if they were in a clearing so the light was actually on them, that could work. This also extends to combat, where enemies more often than not blend into the environment. Sure, I can tell where they are, but that's not really the point I'm making. If we compare the same combat encounter, i.e. Corwoods in the forest, between the sequel and the original, holy shit, does the original look way more impressive. The enemies are visually separated from the background, and it's all because of the artistry on display. This guy here, for example, has so many little details on his skin and his mask, and they're all different colours. This catches your eye and makes judging distance and movement so easy on him. Compare this to, oh, okay, it's actually the same guy, fair enough, in the sequel, and well, it's still there, but now they're, in terms of tone anyway, the same as the grass behind him. They aren't separated anymore, so he blends in. A lot of this is the lighting. It simply doesn't match the rest of the visuals. With a game so overwhelmingly stylized like Clash 2, you have to really control the lighting to bring out the best of the art team's work. Putting a light in the sky and hoping for the best isn't enough here. Placing breaks in the canopy to highlight important areas or simply guide the player, for example, is a good start. All this tells me is that the technical team wanted to push the graphical enhancements of the Unreal Engine over the Source Engine, but forgot to tell the art team. So, as it is now, it kind of just feels like there's this disconnect between the art style and the lighting. I mean, this is Xenoclash. It is a surrealistic, fantastical brawler that just got upgraded to the Unreal Engine. So for this game to look worse than its predecessor is interesting to say the least. Sadly, as art design was second to experimenting with a new engine, a lot of other things got caught up in that as well. Namely gameplay, because it's a direct downgrade from the original in almost every way possible. Remember my problems with the original? Restrictive lock-on, weird floaty movement, inconsistent attack distances. Well, I'm proud to announce that all of that is still here, and it's the exact same shit again. Only some of it is actually worse than before. You may notice in the gameplay here that the camera is trying to fight itself. Any attempt by me to move it is met by just, well, whiplash. Gat moves so slowly now that combat is a chore. Combat is simultaneously more and less in depth than the original. There's a few new attacks, some of which don't seem to trigger properly, so as they share the same input combos as other attacks, so the game just gets confused. You can now also punch individually with each hand, this leads to new combos, and above all else, enemy variety takes a hit, as now enemies are pretty much just two types. Big fellas and small fellas, with some one-off bosses thrown in for good measure. This sounds fine, but the problem is that Xenoclash 1 made an attempt to offer up a different experience of each faction of enemy. Xenoclash 2 just treats them all the same. They all have the exact same amount of aggression, the same attacks. They just mosey up and punch you. It's pretty interesting to see that they downgraded this part of the game, but seeing as the scale of the game is much bigger, I suppose it makes sense for something to get cut. Since you guessed it, Xenoclash 2 is an open world nightmare collectathon. It's the biggest change from the original, and it sends shockwaves through every facet of game design. The open world though, it's definitely open and a world. What it really does mean though is that you just kind of backtrack a lot between story beats, across the same environments, facing the same enemies. So in function, it's not all that dissimilar to the first game structure, really, which just devolved into the latter half being the first half in reverse, but I feel like that at least worked. I'm not too sure if it works here, as the open world isn't really used. There's only a handful of side quests, and I couldn't do them because they just didn't work, or I just couldn't be bothered. And honestly, and I know this should be an in-depth review of the game, but I could not bring myself to go back and, play the side missions. I just couldn't. Across the open world though, there is also a bunch of collectibles and even this totem thing that gives you perk points to put into health, stamina, strength, and leadership. All of these are pretty self-explanatory. Health for health, stamina for stamina, strength for damage, and leadership, that lets you recruit stronger allies to help you out in combat. The idea of recruiting allies from this game's impressive roster of fighters does sound like a good idea on paper. Maybe the pig people are heavy fighters who can take hits and dish them out. The bird people are faster than their feet, and the other human fighters are well-rounded, or something like that. But no, that's not the case. So, I don't really see the point on wasting my upgrade points on this, as the friendly AI struggle to fight at all. And it just makes more sense to level yourself up and let the starting companions distract your enemies so you can get some cheap shots in. Plus, if you're like most people, you will just want to get this over and done with. So why waste your time exploring a dead-end open world when you can just play the story missions, finish the game, and then go play something better? It is strange that Xenoclash 2 is a worse experience from a gameplay point of view. I mean, Zeno 1 wasn't a particularly groundbreaking game, but it does what it does really well. The combat is fun, the small amount of exploration you do feels exciting, but my main complaint is that it felt way too contained. So Xenoclash 2 with its expansive open world and expanded combat should have been a better experience, but it really wasn't. It's like something got lost in the increased scale. Everything is less polished because more dev time had to go into building more levels, more models, a new arsenal of gadgets, an RPG-light upgrading system, plus a new engine that is far more customizable. so I'm sure there was some temptation there to constantly be tweaking values. The wiser decision probably would have been to have made the sequel on the Source engine and really hone in on what made the original so captivating. But I do understand the desire to always be at the cutting edge. It's a marketing point and it feels exciting. So fair enough. And that was gameplay. So what's the story like? Well, it's better actually, at least the ideas are. The execution of the presentation is a bit like a microwave mill. You think you're getting this, but nah, you're actually getting this. Xenoclash 2 takes place in the days or maybe weeks after Gollum takes control of Halstead, and even has a fancy little training sequence intercut with Gat's feelings on father-mother stealing children. It's actually, honestly, a pretty cool way to show it if you haven't played the original. The important takeaway is that many of Gat's siblings have asked Gollum where their real parents are and have since left town to go find them, and father-mother is locked up in this new thing called jail. And now Gollum has hired a private army to enact this new thing called the law. And then we cut to Gat and Ramant at a bar, we get called out, and a bar brawl breaks out. Outside, Ramant calls us out and then offers us a job. She wants to break father-mother out of jail and she needs our help. After all, that strange bird creature's family, right? And so is Gat, probably. But the door to the jail is locked, but thank God one of our brothers already has the key. But he won't be joining us. He needs to find his biological parents, which, hey, that's fair enough. We unlock the door, fight a small army of local police while climbing up the tower until we reach the top and stumble into the Golem on a Microsoft Teams call.
For history. Why would you expect anything different? Coxte, it is not your job to take an interest. No, but I still feel it is my duty to allow these creatures to become more civilized. Coin and law won't work for them. Most wouldn't be able to understand it. Though not ideal, the beholders are simple enough. You could also have them all killed, and hope something more worthwhile spawns. No.
Where it's revealed that the Golem isn't the only Golem, and in fact he might be the better of two evils, as he doesn't want to genocide an entire planet, but rather just try and educate us first. And this isn't the first time he's tried either. He also launches these strange devices. I don't know what these are. Downstairs we find our friendly neighbourhood cryptid designed to scare small children, and well, they're grateful to see us.
Father, Mother!
Raymond, that, you came to me.
Now, how are we going to get you out of here?
Move back.
The Golem interrupts the reunion, however, and reveals that he didn't make the prison. He just told people what a prison was. It's his job to guide, not to command or lead, and then we jump out the window. And in a recurring problem with this game, I have no idea what to do, but thank God this text on the bottom of the screen tells us. We have to go to the Family Plaza, the site of the boss fight from the last game's conclusion, where, you know, the Golem corners us again, demanding that Father and Mother return to their cell, and another fight breaks out. But it's too much for us, and Father and Mother forces our hand.
No place of the fight. I'll make them follow me. You'll have better chances any other time.
Outside the city, Ramant and Gat come up with a plan. They can't free the town until they know how to defeat the Golem, and for that they'll need allies. It's time to go visit our brothers and sisters and persuade them back to our cause. And this does form the rough outline for the rest of the game. Go to place, talk to sibling, try and convince them to join. This happens alongside Gat's mission to discover more about the Golem and potentially find a weakness to exploit. And much like the original, we'll find ourselves exploring different locales and mingling with the locals. But up first, we have Pot, one of our brothers who left to find his family down in the aptly named Garbage Valley. But when we find him, he's actually defending Father and Mother from some enforcers, but my shotgun makes quick work of them. Turns out Pot did find his parents, but they were long dead. The Golem forgot to mention that part, I guess. But then Father and Mother chimes in and drops a bombshell. They've seen another Golem's fortress before. Not in the north, but in the east across the sea. But they didn't explore it. Nothing good comes of the dead. So now we have two options where to go. The Sea Golem, or the Golem's fortress to the north. But as we're leaving, we get trapped by a second Golem who talks strange poetry at us.
We're trapped in here.
Who are you?
Wasn't Pot brave, defending Father Mother all by himself? Everyone thought he was weak, but when tested, he proved everyone wrong.
What do you want with us?
2 dogs howl at the moon. One domesticated, the other a wild wolf. I need to see where this goes.
Let us out!
If you don't use my gift, you'll remain stuck, and I need to see where this goes. Goodbye. You can let yourselves out now.
Golem!
He gives us this gauntlet that can summon the power of the sun and the moon, and we use that to break this barrier. This gadget is used for nearly every puzzle in the game, every boss fight, and is also ridiculously simple to use in combat. It's honestly great. So, the story is a lot of going to a place, getting a gadget, talking to someone. If we continue doing this blow by blow of the story, we will literally be here all day. So what actually happens? To put it simply, not much. The rough outline is that we go to the Sea Golem's fortress, fight its decaying bird-occupied corpse, and we get a new gadget. This gadget allows us to link enemies together so that damaging one damages the other. Effectively, it's what the golem can already do, but now we have it too. And like Gat says,
Now we know golems can be stopped. He's not immortal.
its usefulness in combat is not understated though. Every enemy becomes a 2-for-1 special. It speeds up combat and even makes dealing with the more tanky enemies far more enjoyable. Overall, it's a great addition. We then go to Kekter's fortress at the end of the world in hopes of finding something we missed the first time, and lo and behold we do. This time, the throne teleports us to the moon and reveals that Xenozoic is Earth? This opens up a whole new can of worms, and we don't really have time to delve into it just now, as we're now heading for a tunnel even further into the void. And what's on the other side of the tunnel? It turns out a lifeless hellscape littered with strange objects. A piano? Strange considering Xenozoic's inhabitants don't have music. What's stranger is that interacting with it takes us to a strange room. A clock? Again, there's no understanding of time rather than day-night in Xenozoic. A bookshelf? These guys don't read or write. It's all very strange. How did these get here? Who made them? Was it the golem? But who even is the golem? Fuck. That's the city. And whoever they are, they're generations ahead of Xenozoic. Are these humans? Did they make the golems? Did they make Xenozoic?
I cannot allow you to go there.
You lied to us about this place. You told us there was nothing beyond the end of the world.
There isn't anything left here for you. You will go back.
No, not this time.
The world is larger than Xenozoic, much larger. But since you are not allowed to leave the confines of your land, I decided you should remain unaware of this.
Who says we're not allowed to leave Xenozoic?
The civilized world. Many people, collectively, have decided so. You Xenos have no notion of history, of how long past events have an active effect on the present. Xenozoic has been isolated from the world for a very long time. Now you will go back to Xenozoic, else I'll be forced to kill you.
No!
No, Gat, don't! It didn't hurt us. When you hit the golem, it didn't hurt us. The link is not there anymore.
Why? It doesn't matter. I'm giving you a last chance to return peacefully to your home.
You really think we're going to go with that?
And what do you know? His link isn't working. Let's kill this fucker. This fight uses both the bracelet and the ring. You can use the bracelet to get some quick damage on the golem, and the ring to get some safe damage on the golem. It's a long fight. He has a lot of health, and he does a lot of damage. But after the fight, we do defeat the golem, cutting deep into his flesh, or his circuits, because yeah, he's a robot sent by that massive city in the background to keep Xenos inside of Xenozoic. In his reduced state, his link reactivates. He still holds power over us as he declares that if we continue north he will kill himself, destroying all of Xenozoic. Ramat asks him the golden question, why aren't we allowed into the city? And well, He basically confirms what we basically already know. Xenos are savage. They can't follow rules, respect their leader. This harkens back to that idea in Xenoclash 1. The Gat is so jealous of the Corvids for living such a free life, one where their goals are so easily met. To become civilized is to remove that from every Xeno. And like the Golem says, maybe that isn't possible, or maybe it just takes a lot longer than a lifetime. In order to prevent Gat's will from ending, the Golem tells the duo to go to the Eastern Golem, that he will have replacement parts to heal Kekter. The Golem does have one final bit of wisdom for us. It turns out that the Eastern Golem's domain was abandoned due to unlawful chimera, basically strange mutants born of multiple species, which, I mean, isn't that like 90% of the people in Xenozoic? Father Mother is definitely one of them though. I mean, they're generations older than anyone else. Along this path are a bunch of signs that basically confirm that the Eastern Golem made most of the species in Xenozoic. And then we finally see the Golem's foot, and wow, it is stunning. Visual artifacting, a massive hand, a beautiful sunrise. This whole level actually reminds me a lot of Xenoclash 1. And funnily enough, it's one of the only unique locations actually made for the sequel. So someone worked their magic. We do a life or death chase across a bridge, but once up top, well, yeah, he's very dead. There's not even a bird this time. But thankfully, that flying thing's on a direct path of us, and what do you know? It's the South Golem, and he's here to lecture us.
You see, your friend the Golem, the Entitled One, he is strongly opposed to the existence of chimeras, and did everything he could to stop the endeavor. He even acquired the legal faculty to kill Nahuatl.
The what?
Legal faculty? I forget you don't know these things. I'm so used to them, I forget they aren't completely real. Let's just say legal is a special kind of weapon we golems can use against each other.
If the North Golem killed the East Golem, why did he send us here? How could he expect the East Golem to cure him?
All Coxte wants from Nahuatl are some parts. I can take them to him for you.
Do you trust him?
He seems to dislike the Golem as much as I do, but I don't really trust him. In any case, I think he's the only one who could reach the North Golem with the organs on time. What now?
We should return to Halston, ask around, and find where Father Mother was taken.
So we head back to where it all started, and everyone hates us. And for good reason. Remember, everyone is linked, so everyone is dying of organ failure right now. So yeah, get a few punches in. It's only fair. Turns out Father Mother is about to get executed on the town's outskirts by a gang of creatures supported by none other than our new friend the South Golem. This gang of creatures turns out to be all of Father Mother's victims. All the parents that had their kids taken, and they obviously want revenge. With one man being strongly hinted at being both Ramat's and Gat's father. And why is the South Golem doing this? Well, he wants to see if Ramat and Gat can pass his test. Why, and for what reason? I don't know. But I'm not against beating some people up. It's a long fight. Every enemy is a tank, and I'm just a man of strange hair. After the fight, it turns out that it actually wasn't our test, but Father's Mother's to see if there's any regret for their actions, and nah, they don't. Ramat then gets tested, being asked if her feelings for Father Mother have changed, and
Get out of here!
no, they haven't. She even refuses to learn the truth, saying that it won't change anything. Our test though, we have to go meet the South Golem at the High City Plaza. By the time we get there, the two golems are already locked in the battle of words. The North Golem failed his test. He was meant to kill anyone who crossed the threshold, but instead he let Daedra and Gat live. The South Golem finally gives us our test though. We have to kill the North Golem. Zoti unlinks the North Golem from Xenozoic and a fight commences. But Gat has his own plans.
Now the Golem is still linked to you, but no one else is. What will you do?
You're almost completely right, South Golem. I will fight the Golem. But I'm also here to fight you.
This final boss fight plays much like the previous boss fight. We can use the ring to link Zoti the Kekter to deal damage to both, or we can just well up on the South Golem until he panics and severs the link, leaving both golems vulnerable to normal attacks. The fight is made somewhat more interesting by the North Golem occasionally deciding to heal you for God knows what reason, considering you just made it clear you have to kill both of them. He also has a hammer that he drops after he enters a coughing fit that deals massive amounts of damage to both of them. Eventually the fight ends with the North Golem sacrificing himself to destroy Zoti. but not without dropping one last reveal. If all the golems die, the city will send replacements.
That could happen in decades. It might never happen at all. It could also happen tomorrow. Faculté, I am not going to win this fight. And I see that I cannot trust you to carry out our mission. I will best serve our makers by forcing them to send a replacement. Coxday.
A final cutscene reveals the fate of our main characters, and that was Zeno Clash 2. I'm sure we all have a lot of questions like I did when I finished the game. Like, what's the city? Are the golems going to return? Is Xenozoic Earth? Does that even matter? Whatever the question, you won't get answers here. This game doesn't explain anything. This game feels more like an interlude for a third game. Which, fun fact, there is. But it's a prequel taking place generations before Gat's story. I will play it eventually, but I have a few games to get through first. But for now, that was Xenoclash 1 and 2. Two games of varying quality with massive problems. But I walk away from the two of them feeling pretty content, all things considered. Sure, combat was a bit weird and they never really felt right, but it was fun, kinetic, and even when it got tiring, at least it was over quickly. The narrative and the art style are the real reasons why you play these games though. In conclusion, I do recommend these games. I think this is going to be one of those series I come back to every couple of years with a newfound appreciation for what they did. They're like insanely indie. The team obviously just made something they wanted to make, and we're losing more and more of that year by year. So I'm always happy to play something like this because of that, even despite the many problems I had with the games. But once again, thank you for watching, I appreciate the support as I always do, and I'll see you soon.